Welcome back, Generals, to another Let's Fix General 0 Hour to make the best game ever. Okay, so let's go to GitHub. The workday starts at GitHub. Okay, let's first look at the pull request if there's anything that we should look at. This one here. Prevent debris objects from being created. Debris owner pointer. Okay. Debris owner pointer. Let's see. Documents, data, replace. This one. Man. Such a bunker noob. Very nice line of defense there. My God. The carnage. So many asserts here. Oh man. Default team is null. Uh-oh. Okay. Default team is null. Assert crash. Default team not null. That's interesting. Don't spawn useful objects for dead players. Avoid the zombie units from Yuris. Okay. Okay. Get neutral player. So we basically destroy the game right now. Unload the game. I guess he surrendered or exit the match, right? Clear game data. Message clear game data. Where's it coming from? End of game check. Yeah. Can I leave? Are we leaving the game? Okay, so I assume that he exits the game, right? Yeah. Okay, and then he wants to create this Debris owner. Object type Debris might need this information to process visual upgrade modules. Source. Okay, so it means let me step out of here. Yeah, so default team is null, and then this one he probably also returns null, and so we have a null Debris owner. Fix. I don't think it's a memory bug. It's also not minor, it's major or critical even, but it was introduced from us, so I put it on major. Yeah. Okay, I see. Okay, but the problem is, so the way he fixed it now, The way he fixed it is that it still hits the assert, so this is not the proper fix. This is not a proper fix because it hits the assert. Assert means that it should not even reach this kind of code path. So I wonder why are we firing the weapon when we exit the game? I think that is the question. Why do we fire a weapon? Yeah. We clear game data. We unload the map. We reset the game logic. And then it destroys here some objects. Yeah. Here, this object, which is what? Which is a large parachute. Okay. A large parachute. Okay, and so on destroy, behavior on destroy object, remove from contain, on removing, kill. Kill. Do so much damage to an object that it will certainly die. Fire weapon and that behavior. Oh boy. Why is it creating things when we destroy? Reset the game logic. Destroy all objects immediate. And that will create a new object. Create. And that calls really create. And it creates an object. Okay. Okay, so so I think the problem here is that we are in destroy all objects immediate and it wants to create a new object. I think that is a problem. That is a problem. That it can create an object. Yeah, I think so. It also means it also means that while we iterate this object list, a new object is added, which is probably okay because this is a linked list, right? Yeah, it's a linked list, so it's probably not a problem, but logically speaking, it's weird, right? Yeah. Let me get that core stack. Notepad. Yeah, I don't quite agree with this fix here. It just puts Band-Aid on top of the core issue. I mean, in theory, it would be like a proper fix, but the thing is, this one is not expected to return. Actually, hold on. Well, this is needed anyway, because what if source object was null? Or this one was null? I think this change makes sense if it would be possible. Let me see. What is the name of this function? Really creates. Yeah. Yeah. So if this one could be null, or this one could be null, then Debris owner could also be null, right? It requires live player, false. This neutral player, is this, there's also a assert here. There's also a assert. There's always a player that is neutral. All other players with a non-null player. This will never return null. Okay. Okay, so this can never be null. So the expectation is that Debris owner is not null. Yeah, that's the expectation. Okay, I'm fairly confident that this fix is not correct, because the expectation is that the Debris owner is never null. Now in this case it is null, but it's an exceptional circumstance because we are in the process of destroying all objects, which has destroyed all the teams. Okay, how do we fix that? So basically I think the fix here is to not destroy new objects while destroying all objects. Yeah. Destroy object, on delete, destroy, on destroy, remove, and then it does attempt damage on die, okay. And that creates a debris. I see, let me see here. Create internal. There's an OCL. Fire a weapon. Object creation list. Is this the only place that creates objects? Or what ways are there to create objects? On die. On that note, I think this is also wrong here. This is wrong because there's an assert in here that this is not null, and there's an assert in here, get default team, that this is not null. So Debris owner is always expected to be of this team. Hmm. 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 Requires live player. Don't spawn useful objects for dead players. Requires live. Yeah, this code looks really bonkers. Oh boy. Hmm. What is Sadullah here doing? He's adding comments everywhere he puts a line. What is he doing? Why? Oh boy. Yeah, so ah. So it overrides. Ah, okay. So at first it defaults to neutral team, but if there is a controlling player and not it's flagged, huh? Let's see. No, I think that's correct then. Actually, that's correct. It defaults to that. Maybe the better change would have been to say. I think it's fine. Maybe they could have written if this, then take it from here, else take it from here, right? Then it would be a bit clearer what the intent here was. But okay, this also works. Okay, yeah, how can we prevent this object creation? How can we create this object creation? So we want to I mean, we could have something like where we say, if we are deleting, then we set a flag, and then if we go in a certain code path, we say, okay, are we deleting? We're deleting, so we don't process them. We don't do this on destroy behaviors. Run the on delete on all modules present, so they each have an opportunity to clean up anything they need to, including talking to any other modules. On all modules present, so they can have an opportunity to clean up. Okay, well, that's on destroy, on delete, yeah. This invalidates the iterator. Okay. I thought that's a loop. No, that's if. That's fine. Okay, so on removing object, kill, 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 kill. 10 damage. Do so much damage to an object that it will suddenly die. Kill. On removing. Rider, kill. Get object. Think factory new objects. Debris owner. We could destroy new object. This new. So this debris owner, it's null here. Where does it actually crash then? Debug crash. Oof, okay. So this must not fail, this call new object. New object. Set team. Set M team to null. Okay, so team can be null in here. Okay. Okay, that's fair. So where does it actually crash then? Default team is null. Fair enough. Ah, there we go. There we crash. Okay, so that is a real crash here. Okay, let me see then. Really creates, yeah. Okay, but why does it crash there? Hold on. Hold on. So it did create an object or not? Aha. It crashes in the constructor. Huh? player. Controller. If a valid team has been assigned me, then I have a player I can ask about my silent level. What is this English? Jesus Christ. Okay, so the problem I see here, this guy is null. Get controlling player. Because my team is null. Okay, but this boils down to the same problem, that the team is null. Yeah, which is unexpected. Yeah. Okay. I'm not yet sure what the proper fix here is. So it fires a weapon on die modules on die. On destroy, on delete, destroy objects. Okay. Temp damage. When we do this destruction here, do we do anything special here? Boah. that looks... Okay, so objects are not destroyed immediately. They are flagged for destruction. Okay. I see. Okay. That's good. That's good. Okay. So we can call destroy object on an object multiple times. Otherwise, this would be here really dangerous, calling destroy object while we are already destroying objects, right? Yeah, 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 yeah. But maybe it's a good idea anyway to say if we're already in the process of destroying all objects, then we don't let someone else destroy these objects. Maybe that would help. Yeah. But I think it doesn't matter where we destroy it. If we destroy it somewhere else, it still goes through this bullshit here, right? To create a new object. Yeah. Yeah, I think the core issue is that it wants to create a new object. But that's a problem. That is a problem. That is a real problem. Create, really create. Create, really create. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to create a new object. Now the question is, what should we prevent doing? Should we... And I would expect it doesn't matter if we prevent it to destroy other objects. It would still... it would still crash later then, right? Yeah, if we don't destroy the writer now, the writer will be destroyed later, right? Call our die modules. Call our die modules. Fire weapon when dead behavior. Oof. Fire weapon. Allocate new weapon. Load ammo. Fire weapon. Delete instance. Okay. Okay. Fire weapon. I think it doesn't make sense that it shoots a weapon on destruction here, right? How about... Is there maybe a... Is there maybe a setting Is there maybe a setting where we can say this guy is now unkillable? Can we make it immortal? Jesus. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to do here. So this issue apparently was introduced by this one. Clear the default team to prevent dangling pointer. Yeah. Process a destroy list. This is a tricky problem. This is a tough problem. I don't know. I don't know. Game logic. So we could set a flag here like is destroying all objects, and then if that is true, then we don't. But on destroy, on delete, on destroy. The behavior modules. Boo. Let me search for on destroy. No, what was it? On delete. On delete. What is happening in there? It's deleting some stuff. Okay, so it is critical to call this function. Like it's deleting something in there. So it's probably a better idea to not skip that on delete. Yeah. Open contain on delete will destroy objects. Shit. Oh, it's a really tough issue. I don't know. It wants to do a graceful cleanup on destroy. And then it has all the ripple effects. It triggers all the destroy logic of these objects. And that includes the module logic, which applies damage on when something destroys. When something is destroyed. Ah, man. On delete. Right, okay. Remove parachute contain. On removing. Kill. Kill. On removing. On removing. Those comments. Oh man, this problem. Can we clean it up any other way? So for example, before we delete the objects, we clean up the modules or something like that. Remove from contain. Remove from contain. maybe. Oh man. This is a difficult problem. Oh, this function is huge. Attempt damage. Oh. What we could do is we could maybe kill. Set effectively dead. We could maybe iterate all objects and set all objects dead before we delete them all, so that they don't no longer make any death effects. There. That's what we could do, yeah. Because then they won't have on die. Then they won't do on die stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Is that public? Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dead. Effectively dead. Dead. Remove object. Radar. Remove object. This. Mm-hmm. 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 Has already died. Okay, then let's do the following. Destroy all objects immediate. Destroy all objects immediate. Would it be enough to probably not. We have to make 2 passes. First, we set them effectively dead. Where's this function called? Is this only ever called on reset or anywhere else as well? It's called on reset, yeah, and on destruction. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Good. So what I think we should do is set all remaining objects effectively dead. So we do here objects. Set names objects. Objects set effectively dead. True. Okay, let's try this. If that fixes the problem. I think there's a good chance it does. So basically what this would prevent is that if there are death effects, that these won't be executed. Yeah. Good, and we take the same replay. Let's see this glorious art of defense here. Oops. Jesus. Very professional. Man, I'm a little bit tired already. Time to sleep. It should end soon. There we go. Looking for local game slot while not in game. Okay, so that's different. What is that? What is that? Okay, that's just non-critical asserts. Okay. Okay, that works. So basically what we do is we kill basically we kill all the guys, all the objects before we delete them, so that they don't run any death stuff unnecessarily. Yeah. Let me see if we get any unexpected memory leaks. 243. Yeah. Let's take a look at this in the log. Generals. This one. Raw enum, AI states, text state machine. How much is this? How much memory? Looks pretty small. Well, this one is 5 kilobytes. Global. Question is, what is this thing? Okay, well, it doesn't look too concerning, I would say. Okay, good. Yeah, to me that looks like a good way to fix it. Let me describe this. The super hackers add bug fix. Set all remaining objects effectively dead to avoid triggering their death to avoid triggering the this modules that eventually would spawn new objects, such as debris. Do we have a bug report for this? No. Let me create a bug so that we can link it. Or do we? Yeah. So what we do is we take this replay here. Game runs death logic and spawns new objects that eventually crash. Game runs death modules and eventually spawns new objects when resetting, when unloading a level and destroying all objects. This can have unintended consequences, such as crashing the game. Reproducible with replay. Replay. Crash. Core stack. Just spawns new objects when unloading level and destroying all objects. So the death module refers to this one, fire weapon when dead behavior on die. Actually, it's already here, active body attempt damage. Labor, major, bug, well, is it really a bug? Yeah. Crash. crash major bug. Stability. Okay, and then we link this here in our text. Let me also, by the way, copy this here. We need that. Okay, then we copy this link and we put that into our fix here. Set all remaining objects effectively dead to avoid triggering the death models. Eventually would spawn new objects such as debris, which could then crash the game. See. Set all remaining objects effectively dead to avoid triggering the death modules. Eventually would spawn new objects such as debris, which could then crash the game. Avoid triggering. That to avoid triggering the death modules that eventually would spawn a new object such as debris, which could then crash the game. So was this an original game bug? Yes, because it would use a dangling pointer of team. Yeah. So it was using unsafe code, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that is my fixed proposal. I think it logically makes sense. It works. It doesn't trigger this assert that we see on the other that we would see here with the other fixed proposal here. With this change, it would still trigger the asserts here. So it would hit this, get default team, and this would trigger the assert that the default team is null, or here as well. So it would not crash here, but we would still hit the assert, which indicates it's still running code that should not be hit, right? So yeah. Good, let me find the same function in generals. Generals here. How about we rewrite this a bit? We move these two here to the top, like this. I think that's a bit better. Yeah, makes the loops a bit cleaner to look at, right? Like that. Yeah. Okay. Gen ZH fix 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 asserts and crashes say prevents spawning prevent spawning death effects and objects. Death logic and new objects. Death logic prevents executing death logic and spawning new objects when unloading a map and destroying all objects to avoid asserts and crashes. Prevent this modules spawning new objects when I'm destroying all objects. Prevents it. Say spawning new objects. Prevent executing death modules and spawning new objects to avoid asserts and crashes when unloading a map and destroying all objects. I think that sounds like a good description. Let's read that one more time. Prevent executing death modules. Let's say objects. I think it's fine. Prevent executing death modules and spawning new objects to avoid asserts and crashes when unloading a map and destroying all objects. Oh shit, now I merged it into main branch. That was not my intention. Let's create a new branch. Fix destroy all objects. Good, then we go back here, reset current branch to here. Good, and we reset this. Okay. Let's push this. There we go. Okay. Prevent executing death modules. Prevent executing death modules and spawning new objects to avoid asserts and crashes when unloading a map and destroying all objects. So this fixes this problem. And it closes this one. Closes that. And it's a follow-up for this one. Follow-up for that. This change fixes problems when unloading maps and destroying all objects. Fixes asserts and crashes from unloading maps and destroying all objects. It does so by setting all objects effectively dead before deleting them, so that they do not apply damage to other objects and trigger death modules that would eventually spawn new objects, eventually attempt to spawn new objects. Spawning new objects fails. Maybe we should just crashing the game. Spawning new objects fails because the default. Actually, hold on. Let me go to really create. Spawning new objects fails because the default because get default team because player get default team returns null. Spawning new objects fails at this time because all player get default team return null, which in turn will crash objects. Will crash creating a new object. It does so by setting all objects effectively dead before deleting some. This way, they do not apply damage to other objects, and no longer they do not apply damage to other objects. Apply critical terminal. Do not apply terminal damage to other objects and no longer trigger death modules that would eventually attempt to spawn new objects. Temp damage is here. All objects are found, and this way they do not apply terminal damage to other objects and no longer trigger death modules that eventually attempt to spawn new objects. Okay, let me also get this here. This change will prevent damages. This change fixes asserts and crashes from unlocking maps and destroying all objects. It does so by setting all objects effectively dead before deleting them. This way they do not apply terminal damage to other objects and no longer trigger death modules that would eventually attempt to spawn new objects. Spawning new objects fails at this time because all player get default team return null, which in turn will crash, creating new objects. Maybe we can give a bit more context on that here. Yeah, let's go from here. Oof, that's quite a lot. Let's go from here. Let's take this line. Where are we here? Right. There we go. Okay, so this is a major crash bug gen ZH I'm not sure if we should. It's not an original game bug. Let's just call it crash. Crash gen major 0 Because in the original game, this crash did not occur because because this fix was not there. So the behavior was undefined. It could still like crash. It could still like corrupt somehow, but it was not really user facing. Yeah. So let's not label it as a bug because it was not user facing. Yeah, but it is a bug, but I think that's enough. Crash major 0. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it fixes this, it closes that, it's a follow-up for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, let me also add a comment here. I disagree with this fix proposal because it does not fix the core issue. Which we can see. I disagree with this fix proposal because it does not fix the core issue. The core issue is that these destroying objects are still applying damage to other objects and eventually try to spawn and run the death modules and then eventually try to spawn new objects, which then triggers the get default team assert and crash later down the line. This fix, this change fixes the crash, but not the asserts. I have put alternative fix proposal at here. I have created alternative fix proposal. Because it does not fix the core issue. The core issue is that these destroying objects are still applying damage to other objects. And run the death modules and then eventually try to spawn objects, debris, which then triggers get default team, the assert in player, get default team, and crash later down the line in objects constructor. The change fixes the crash, but not the assert. Or let's say avoids the crash. Fixes the crash, yeah. Fixes that particular crash, but not the associated assert. I've created alternative fix proposal. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, it took a while to figure out like how to avoid the scenario, but I think it's it's decent enough. Maybe there would even be some other some other condition we could set to even avoid more logic, but to set them effectively dead, that seems very plausible to me from a logical standpoint, to at least avoid running these damages and death modules and stuff like this. But maybe it could be even further, that it could maybe maybe it could be cleaned up even easier than this, right? What we should probably, maybe what we should also test is if loading, like loading from one level to another works just fine. So let's load a skirmish. And this one here. Let's put our enemy here. Medium USA. Yeah. Play game. Okay. 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 Okay, fair enough. Let's move a bit. Let's attack here. Yeah. Jesus. Okay, let's exit game. Okay. And then we start again. Okay. And then we attack again. Beautiful. So efficient. Okay, let's also attack this here. Okay, let's attack here. Yeah, big battle. Jesus. Good to see the sniper is doing his job here, running between the overlords. It's quite ambitious. I think the Pathfinder is not really smart here. Yeah. Probably will die. Well, survived. Okay, that looks good. Let's exit the game and let's go to replay and play that replay back. See if that is okay. Let's put that on fast forward. It's very laggy. But yeah, very powerful rush here. Looking for a local game slot. Okay, cool. That works. Exit game, 96 memory leaks. Okay, fair enough. Okay, cool. That's good. Good. That was close to 2 hours. I will take a break here. I wish you a great day or night. Until next time. Goodbye.